Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be upgrading my friend Cyma Scar, which I think is a great gun. You can see it right here. Basically this gun is what looks like almost a full metal build. It does have some nylon parts, I think they all do. But basically what I'm going to be putting in today is a 16:1 Gearset, SHS. Made in Hong Kong, like all the parts, and just a different motor. I think from what he was telling me, because I just got given the parts he wants to put in the gun, this is a high torque motor, looks like a 18,000 RPM, just pretty good, so we'll just put it in there. So basically, this will just be another teardown video. I'll throw in the gears, throw in the motor, and then that's it. So basically, to pull this apart, just start by popping out this pin in the front, which just sits straight through here. Pull that pin out. There's 3 Allen keys you need to pull out. One on the side, well, one on each side. So what I've got here, because I'm a great cinematographer, there on the top and on the exact other side of that. So just pull them out. Basically, if I was to buy another gun, this would probably be the gun I would buy, just because of the weight of it. Like, for me, I go to the gym, I work out, I like to feel strong, I like to feel masculine, hence the beard. And this gun is really nice and heavy. Like a lot of the other guns are just mostly plastic parts, so they're really light, easy to maneuver. I mean, I wouldn't get a gun like this if you're easily fatigued. If you do your cardio and you lift your weights, you're good. Anyway, undo those. Once that pin's out, this should just slide out like that. That's obviously your inner barrel, your T-piece, and the rest of it. All the good stuff. There's a little pin above the trigger that we're going to push out. So this one right here. What I like to do is just use the same Allen key and just tap it out. Just pull that out. So I've only done this once myself. To pull this back end off, you just push this button in. You should know how to do this. It can be quite stuck. And then undo this Allen key at the back. But yeah, like I was saying, this is a really nice gun just because of the weight of it. I mean, otherwise, I've said it before and I'll say it again, in my opinion, gel blasters are gel blasters, they all work the exact same way. I would prefer a metal gearbox like this gun has, just so you get more power. I'd probably do that last, not in this order, because obviously the cables are still connected. No, the cable should pull through actually. I don't want to break that, so I'll leave it like it is for now. But anyway, we're going to pull off the selector switch. For your selector switch, it's just another Allen key. Most of these are Allen keys. Just undo the little screw in there, slide it off like so. And just be careful you don't lose your ball bearing. There's a very little metal ball bearing in there to help the selector switch lock into place. If you lose that, it won't lock into place. Like I said, I haven't done this before. I'm not sure if you have to take apart both sides. So let me just have a look. See, so this side is actually missing a ball bearing. So this side wouldn't be locking into place at the moment. Pull out the motor from the bottom. So as usual, I need a battery for this, so just give me a sec. And we have a flawless transition. Just undo the 2 screws on the plate at the bottom that's holding the motor in place. And the motor just slides out like that. I think most of the new guns all have a similar motor, a motor that just presses into the gearbox, isn't actually attached, which is good. Don't get me wrong, it is good, but if you don't know what you're doing with your tension, which is, you know, on all of them you have this little plate under here, the little screw. That's basically moving this into the gearbox or out of the gearbox to suit. I mean, you can strip and damage your gears if you're going too far in. You can strip and damage them if you're going too far out. So it's a very fine adjustment. It's just a matter of playing around, testing it while you're doing it, listening and just making sure it sounds like it seats properly. I'd probably go in till it's pulling the gears and then go in like a quarter of a turn more just to make sure it's actually in there properly and not just sort of seated, because that's where you'd end up stripping your gears. There's 2 screws under here you need to undo. And just pull this out like so. If you haven't disassembled the gun before, this is my first time, but I have a pretty good memory, not to brag, but I would keep things in a certain order so that when you're putting it back together, you're like, okay, this handle piece has these 2 screws, so I'm going to keep them together. That way, you know, you don't need to listen to someone like me telling you what to do. Just say, I know exactly what I'm doing. Basically, I will try. Like I said, I haven't done this before. Yep. So unscrew these. These are from the selector switch, and just keep them together. Both sides, they obviously screw into the gearbox on this one. What I can see right here. And they are slotted, so when you put them back in, you can see they do go in a certain way. But from what I can see here, both sides are exactly the same, so they are interchangeable. Yeah, they look exactly the same to me. So basically, if you push the mag release in, there's a little Allen key right on the circular button that you've got to undo to pull out. So I'll pull that out right now. So if you hold it in and you undo it, which is stupid, it's absolutely stupid. there's an Allen key right there. If you look at this, it's right there. And then that releases out. It would be good if they did the same as the LDT MP5 and just had a screw on it so it just pulls out. I don't know why they use an Allen key in the center. It's a bit shit. And then basically that's how you disassemble it. So this is interesting. This spring retainer is an Allen key. That's the first time I've seen that. They're usually just slotted for a screwdriver. Oh. Just pops out like so. Right, here we have the gearbox. So basically to pull the top half off, just unscrew this little switch just off of the top of the gearbox shell just to move that out of the way. I'm going to be removing the gears. And always look at how your original gears have been shimmed, because it will give you a good idea of how they should be shimmed. But obviously each gear set can vary slightly. So I'm going to get these out of the way. And ideally you do want to use some grease on your gears. I know they sell it at some of the stores. Just make sure when you're doing it too, you get all the original shims out. You don't want one loose in the gearbox, otherwise it could get caught in between the gears as they're operating. And while you're in here, you might as well inspect all your parts, make sure your O-rings are okay. So that's pretty good. It's just a standard black O-ring. I'll put a green O-ring on for him. Oh. I'm just going to pull this out. That's in there. And if you pull the cylinder out, just make sure your port is in the rear. Obviously make sure the rung on your piston is facing down, because obviously as the gears are turning around, they're pulling it out, like so. Yep, that should be okay. That's a really good air seal too. Put your anti-reverse latch in here. Sometimes you just got to cheat that little bit. I would put this screw in first. And you can screw this little button on. Yep. And then put this piece on. And this, obviously this one on first. This one in. Right. There we go, just like that. Same on the other side. But obviously put all your screws in first. So, a few things to take note of on these gearboxes is where these sit. There's a pin on this one that seats into this black slide. And on this side, what I would be careful of when putting the gearbox back together is the fact that these red cables, let me focus the camera, stupid fucking thing. Don't focus on me. These don't run inside the gearbox, they just sit outside. Just straight through here. Focus. And then don't forget to put your spring back in. Otherwise it won't work. That is it. Now we can start putting it back together. So. These really can be a bit of a pain in the ass to work on, I think. I mean, really, if you're not very technical, I would leave it for a technician. Even though I'm going to say this and someone might get a bit offended, a gel blaster technician isn't a real job. it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Fucking really are. What the fuck? Right, I'll start by putting this mag release back in. This stupid thing. Don't forget your spring. It's not too difficult, but it's not ideal. And then just do that grub screw back up. Yeah, some of these things are a bit silly. I mean, slightly over-engineered, but I mean, you kind of want good quality. You don't want just all plastic and, you know, things are falling off while you're trying to use it. That's a bit stupid. Make sure your ball bearing goes in to your selector switch, otherwise it won't lock into place. I wasn't going to film all of this, but I'll do it anyway, just because it's good. Like, you can literally just watch and you'll see, you'll know. I think most of the time people are smarter than they realise. Or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I mean, people surprise you sometimes. Just smart. I've never been a really smart people. Oh, there you go, I just proved you right. I've never been a smart people. I've never been a really smart person. Also, when I'm tired, man, my cognition just goes to shit. And sadly, being a, you know, modern day man, you're working and then you go on the gym and then you're working more, all this overtime and everything. Oh, it wears you out big time, you know what I'm saying? And then I come home and do stuff like this. I'm like tired all the time. I don't know how people do it. Sometimes I just want to sleep for like 20 to 30 hours. I'll test that selector switch when I'm finished. But pretty much let's chuck this bad boy on, chuck the motor on and test it before we do too much. See, I'm so tired, I'm telling you, I'm so tired. Done with finesse, I was trying to say. Yeah, baby. Oh. I think if I do these videos, I got to do them on the weekend after I've actually slept. That's plugged in there, that's plugged in there. Just make sure they're plugged in properly. Then put your plate back on, obviously. I mean, before you put most of it back together, you kind of want to be able to test the gearbox if you've done work to it as soon as possible. Otherwise you reassemble the gun, and if it doesn't work, you've got to pull it apart again. So that works on safety. We go, I think that's semi-auto. Oof, works beautifully. And my neighbours are probably going to hate me, absolutely hate me. Anyway, let's reassemble this properly. Oh, you sneaky bastard. Sneaky guy. Oof. You know what they call me? The butcher. There we go, that's basically it. So I'll put these Allen keys back in. Back in the rear, baby. I am actually a normal person, I swear. Some of these YouTubers are very weird people. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other good channels on YouTube. I would go have a look at some other guys as well. I'm sure they do a much better job and they're pretty fun to watch. I think anything fun to watch. I get a bit bored when you're just watching something technical and like that's all it is. I just like to see people have fun, you know, that's what makes a video interesting in my opinion. In my opinion. And now this pin just above the trigger isn't locating properly, isn't going straight through. So if you have that problem, you can probably just wiggle it about till it goes in. Know what I'm saying? There we go. And then you just want to make sure everything works. Like your pull back, everything. And then test it again if you like. Just make sure you got air pressure as well. You just want to listen. You want to hear, you know, you want to hear your piston being pulled back, the spring pushing it back, and you just want to make sure you got air pressure at the end. And then like I was saying at the start of the video, this would be probably the favourite gun, my favourite gun, or one of my favourite guns that I have used, just because of the weight of it. You know, it just feels like a freaking man's gun, really. Otherwise, they all do the exact same thing. People just like to talk shit, talk them up a bit. You know, I like the fact it's a metal gearbox, so you could put very high-powered springs in and play around with that. I tested the FPS. I just got a chronograph, so I'll do a video soon with different spring sizes. But I just tested this the other day, and I think it was reaching 330 FPS, which is good. It's decent. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thanks for watching, and hopefully these videos help you. And if they don't watch them. See you later.